Down a forgotten street, in a forgotten neighborhood, sits a forgotten place. And no, that's not entirely fair. The people who live and conduct business in Brownsville, who have loved ones interred in Lincoln Memorial Park Cemetery, would likely protest that they have forgotten nothing.
Lincoln Memorial Park is an amazing case study into the African American experience in Miami. It is very telling of the situations that blacks were put into, not only in life but in death. Is very revealing into the sorts of policies that were in place that would not just segregate people in life, but would also segregate people in death.
In the early years, black folks and white folks were not buried in, well, even if they were buried in the same cemeteries, there was a section for the black folks, usually in the back of the cemetery. That's the way the City of Miami Cemetery is set up. In fact, when the City of Miami Cemetery filled up, they dug up bodies from that cemetery and took them up to Lincoln. You have Jim Crow when you're alive and Jim Crow after you're dead.
Meaning a segregated southern town where black people lived and moved largely unseen, and the racial mores of the Jim Crow era were enforced by the law, the fist, the gun.
And it was built to meet a growing need to bury the black population in Miami. There was a cemetery called Evergreen Cemetery, which was founded in 1913, and at a certain point, half of the lots were sold. So there was a growing need for burial plots for African Americans. That's where Lincoln Memorial Park comes in.
Lincoln is the final resting place for an estimated 10 to 30,000 African Americans, lynching victims and millionaires alike, pressed together in the equality of their legal inequality. Nearly 100 years after its first burials, the graveyard is a misbegotten jumble of tombs, the names of occupants scrubbed away by years of sun and storm.
Lincoln Memorial is a black cemetery in Miami, Florida, and it's where my mother and father are buried.
That cemetery was founded in 1924. It was established by a man named Kelsey Farr, who was a black man who was Miami's first black undertaker, south of St. Augustine.
I'm a third-generation Miamian and a genealogist by avocation, and I had never even heard of Lincoln Cemetery. I'm embarrassed to admit. And we went out there one day, and I was just taken away by it. It was quite obvious why at one point it was marketed as the most beautiful colored cemetery in the South.
One problem that was apparent in those days was that insurance companies would not sell burial policies to black people. So a lot of black folks buried the folks who had passed on without any plan or any financial effort. So for that reason, almost from the beginning, that cemetery was in a financial crisis.
In that sense, the tale of Lincoln Memorial is not yet a success story, not yet a story of the ragged and unkempt made to shine like new.
It was amazing. I mean, it was high brush. It was like looking at an island that never been touched before. Actually, like when you first come in, you had 10 feet tall bushes. I mean, you had an area that ain't even been touched in over 30 years to the back of like, what I say like A4, A2, and I call those areas that's to the north side of the of Lincoln Memorial. I mean, it was crazy. We're seeing all this weeds, debris, dead animals, vines everywhere. I mean, it was a sight to see, man. It was really, really unbelievable, really.
And when Kelsey Farr took over the cemetery, he left it to his goddaughter, Ellen Johnson.
My auntie passed away and I inherited. She passed it on to me. And my mother was pregnant with me, working out here, and I was practically born and raised out here.
A lot of the people that are buried there actually helped build Coral Gables. And we think of George Merrick and give him his more than fair share due. He was an incredible visionary, but he had to have people to carry out his work. And these were the people that did it. And they need to be recognized also.
One of the most tragic things about Lincoln Memorial is that we have people out there who died for this country, veterans, who we cannot find where they're resting in that cemetery. And that's a great disservice to the country.
I've been taking care of this cemetery since 2013. It's been very hard. Very, very hard. It's undescribable. You know, really it is. I look at all this and the process I'm going through, and it's gonna get better. I know it's gonna get better, but it's been a hard road. It's been a hard road. It's gonna take some time, and they're here with me, and they're not gonna go anywhere. And that's the good part, you know? They're not going anywhere, and I'm not either.
This is Lincoln Memorial Cemetery, final resting place to the millionaire, the lynching victim, and the Tuskegee student whose mother died. Here, a shopping cart sits abandoned in the weeds. Here, the fence sags under the weight of its years. But here, too, fresh bouquets of red and gold flowers adorn a few of the tombs, and small American flags hang limply in the posts of that tired fence, their faded colors barely stirred by the breeze.